So the prompt is stop sign. Let's see, the sound is okay. The prompt is stop sign. So here we go. So we got the stop sign here. Just sort of curious what other prompts are here. It's like a pasta. No, let's just stick to stop sign. It's easy because you gotta go with the hexagonal. Well, I mean, is it a hex? It's an octagon, right? It's an octagon. You go like that, like that, like that, like that, like that, and you have to go like you have to. There's a white part, and this is all red, and then and here's this from, and then they have the little like corrugated like holes like drill the holes are drilled like corrugated metal, and I think it's a, like a what kind of like the steel bar, like it's like I'm sure there's a name for it because it's not like it's a one piece, but I don't even know who's the manufacturer here, and we have the stop sign. No, stop sign, and uh and I don't know what font this. I'm sure there's a font for it, right? Font for it, and we have a freaking like a dissident, like we have a poplar tree here, and the stop sign, and there are these birds, these freaking what birds do we have? Like wrens, like it's W, it says to be wren, and wren, and here's Mike, and he looks at the wren and thinks, okay, so we have Sir Christopher Wren, and he is thinking of going to the library to look up Sir Christopher Wren for his architecture project to build here, right? Well, by automatically thinking of it, he in his mind with these dimensional lines, these fictional lines, and there's these grid lines. He created an architect's mind where the stop sign and there's this entire city around the stop sign. It's a double-decker city, like Leonardo da Vinci. He envisioned this double-decker city. So he envisions this city, and there's this panopticon. It's not a stop sign. It's like a sphere, stop sphere, and it like panopticon. It you can pretty much it puts the entire traffic to stop, so they have to pray towards this sign, right? And there's this whole cult who that grew around this stop sign, and on March 14 at 3 a.m., like the penumbra of the moon, like when the fox goes, I mean, the stop sign comes alive. That's what I'm trying to say, basically. The roundabout way, because it's an animist, and it's an animist cult. This ritual, and they pray to the god of stop sign, and it comes alive on March 19th, right? And that's the day of Drag, right? It's Irish. It's like related to Samhain. I mean, there are some scholars who argue that Samhain derived from like our Halloween. They derive from freaking stop sign, but which is false because the reason is because when Graham Hancock, Graham Hancock, and Greg Baden, and these guys plus Joe Dispenza, these all these guys, and we throw in Rupert Sheldrake, right? All these guys got together, like um, this happened in what? This happened in like freaking what do you call that? Fucking Burning Man and shit, right? So they got together in Burning Man in freaking in where does Burning Man take place? Like Corona or like Riverside? I mean, I don't know which part. So they got together. They put the LSD strip in their tongue, and they found out the entire ground became this membrane, this dermis, this skin like it's like it came alive because it became this tongue. Entire ground became tongue, and there was a stop sign that offshoot like a geyser. It grew out like Jack in the Beanstalk, like 800 meters per second, and which is like of course like 10 times as much as beer second, right? Or like I mean parsec. How much beer sec is in parsec? I mean, and then when stop sign comes alive, he needs to feed on freaking yield sign, right? And we know that he has to freaking yield sign, but what happens? What happens if the Okay, he needs to feed on the L side. But then there was those turn, like those merging left signs. So if there's no Yale sign, it finds finds those merge sign, or like a speed bump sign. It cannot. There's an embargo on the signs that stop sign can eat, because the power of a stop sign is okay, and stop is like pots backward. So if you're like dyslexic, and they have to put like freaking weed, like this weed, like a container with the RX, right? And they has to have this like a sticker with the code, and that you can drive under machinery. But so what happens is people still don't follow that, and they smoke weed and drive, right? And the car comes here, and they're already driving slow, and they stop to a standstill. Time slows down. There's Achilles and the tortoise, and like they figured, and they're already tripping on. Okay, I don't know what do you mean by they. Well, I don't know. Let's just play along. Let's pretend. Okay, let's go back. Let's backtrack a little. Okay, let's see the big picture. Okay, so we got a stop sign cult in near freaking, what street was this? So what happened to Mike? By the way, he got murdered by all this scribbling, right? I mean, so he's like the collateral damage. He's like freaking. This guy is Jamie Foxx in Collateral. He's like very subdued, so no one paid attention to Mike, right? And meanwhile, Mike died, and then we have this speed bump in his grave, and people think it's a speed bump. It's not. It's not. It's a. It's Mike. It's poor Mike, and Mike's father was an engineer who was a yogi from Compassion of Buddha, the story, that came and told Mike's dad, which is Mike Senior, right? Mike Senior, that your son's gonna get buried, and he's gonna be a speed bump. And what are you gonna do about it? He said, but how do you know he's gonna get buried like horizontally, right? Like, what if he like dies like that, and his body becomes a mummified clay statue, and then somehow through the artesian well, if you drill a hole from one end of the China, he ends up in that dynasty where those terracotta clay figures were found. So, and he didn't pay attention to Yogi, and his son died, and it grew, and then the stop sign, like, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, man. Jesus Christ. What the hell just happened? It looks like, I'm pretty sure it's not a stop sign, although it's recognizable. I mean, if you do like this, because they found fractal pattern in Pollock's work, right? So what if you do like, I'm sure there's some, cause okay, here's the thing. How would you recreate it through linear algebra and like Gaussian blur and all those things? I mean, you can still recreate it. So if they can recreate it, I'm sure there's this logical sequential. So it's not as random and stupid as it sounds, because it's a stop sign, and they still have those. I wonder how many inch these drills has to be, this like the specifications by department of, what do you call it, transportation, right? Is it department of transportation, or how long? I wonder what would be the height of this, and the diameter has to be, because suppose you roll through the stop sign, and the diameter is off, can you still not get a ticket? Can you fight the ticket in court? That's what I'm trying to ask, like through my art.